Immer wieder wurden Gesetze ausgehebelt zugunsten des Staates. Jetzt wieder irgendwo in Deutschland. That's what we're going to talk about once again today on Friday, the 4th of April, 2025. And it's now, 10 o'clock in the morning in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for Germany for today. Look, guys, back in the, if you remember the Demos gegen Rechts, right? You remember that they were basically called for by people that work in government, so by our politicians. And the law states clearly that the state has to be neutral in these situations. The state is not generally allowed to call for protests against another party, right? So in this case, all of the establishment parties were basically calling for protest against the right, protest against the AfD, protest against Friedrich Merz because he was going to side with the AfD about immigration. And that was done by people that also are part of the government. They're also part of the lawmaking body in this country. And so the AfD sued, right? The AfD sued, but they lost. And this is the dangerous part, right? So everybody that's 100% sure that there will never be an AfD-Verbot, right? That they will never be able to ban the party. Don't be so sure, because you can't rely on the laws in this country. You can't rely on the laws about Meinungsfreiheit, so freedom of speech, freedom of opinion. There are laws that protect the citizen against the state, right? From the state. They protect the citizen from the state, and they say, look, you are allowed to say what your opinion is. The only thing you're not allowed to do is Volksverhetzung, so you can't get the country riled up against a certain group of people or whatever. It's like inciting violence in the States would be. There are some caveats to the law. But basically, it also protects the citizen from the state when the citizen criticizes the state, right? But instead of that, now you have to be worried that any judge could basically just side with the state, regardless of what the law says. So you can basically make use of the law, but if you get the wrong judge, in that case, if the state decides to take you to court, like Robert Habeck takes everybody to court about being called a Schwachkopf, which he actually totally is, you know what I'm saying? He totally is. You know what I mean? The guy is dumb as a box of fucking rocks, right? And apparently you're not allowed to say that. But you are. You are allowed to say that. Instead, though, Robert Habeck decided to take that person to court, right? And you never know. When you criticize the state in this country, you never know if you have the law on your side or not, because the law can state that the law's on your side. But if the judge decides, nope, we're going to go ahead and let the state win in this case, then you could be screwed, right? You could be screwed. So you can't rely on the laws. And in this case, with the AfD lawsuit, you also can't, because in the law it states the state has to be neutral. So government actors cannot call for protest against another political party. And so that normally would have been considered illegal. But in their judgment, the court said that yes, the state does have to be neutral, but in the case of trying to protect democracy, it's okay to not be neutral, which basically means that this judge in this Verfassungsgericht in Germany, not the Hauptverfassungsgericht, it was in a certain state in Germany. I don't remember what the name of the state was, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is the judge in this state in Germany feels like, yes, the law states A, but because I agree with the government, I'm going to ignore that the law states A, right? So yes, the government government actors have to be neutral, but because I don't like the AfD, I'm going to go ahead and say, in this case, it's cool. You can call for protest against the AfD, against your own, against your other political parties and other political actors. So that is bad news. That's very bad news, and it just ties in with all the tyranny that's coming down the pipeline here with this new government, consisting of CDU and SPD. They're going to try. I've talked about it in other videos. They are planning a massive attack on the Meinungsfreiheit in this country. So get ready, right? They do not want you to have freedom of speech, freedom of opinion. They want you to vote for them. They want you to pay your taxes, and they want you to shut the fuck up. That's what they want. And everything they're doing is trying to push the law in that direction, right? They want to return the Majestätsparagraph, so that Majestätsbeleidigung, so that means criticizing the monarchy. But they are not monarchy, right? That rule was taken away a long time ago. Now they want to reinstate that law because they want to be able to punish people that criticize what they're doing, right? That's what they want to do. They want to stop dis and misinformation. They've been talking about this for years, right? And the reason they want to stop dis and misinformation is because because they feel like everything that's not on mainstream media is misinformation. And the reason why they think that way is they basically control the mainstream media. We see it, it's clear as day that there is a connection between the mainstream news media and the political parties, the established political parties. They clearly are, unter das gleiche Decke, they say in Germany, right? Unter eine Decke. So they're clearly in bed together. It's never been more obvious. That's not only in Germany, that's almost everywhere around the Western world. Even in America, it's still that the mainstream media is siding with the left against Donald Trump in every instance. So everything Donald Trump says is twisted in a way that it will fit the narrative of the left. So the left and generally the established parties, the establishment politicians, the people that run around talking about unsere Demokratie all the time, they are the people that basically have their fingers in the pies in all the mainstream media. And that's all they want people to get their information from, right? So anything that criticizes anything they do that's on social media or on YouTube or in a podcast, they're going to want to censor that. And they're trying to make laws in order to make all of that happen. Essentially what's going on in Germany is you are witnessing a tyrannical, totalitarian government coming together before your very eyes. And the fucked up thing is, most of you voted for it. That's the crazy part, right? Because it was obvious before Friedrich Merz candidated himself to be the chancellor, right? It was obvious before the election that this is the trend, that less freedom, more tyranny is the trend, right, with these establishment parties. And yet still, people voted for these people, and now we're in the situation we're in that might even be worse than the Ampel was, right? Which is hard to believe. I mean, I thought the Ampel was pretty fucking bad. I mean, it was the most hated government Germany has had ever, and now they're trying to top it by making an even more hated government, right? So people, look, at some point, the German citizenry is going to be forced to make a decision. Are they going to allow themselves to be subjugated like peons, like in the Hunger Games, or are you going to stand up and fight back, right? We have the right as citizens in a supposed so-called democratic society, democratic government. We have the right to stand up against this tyranny, and we should before it's too late. My prediction is, if things do not change before the next election, and hopefully that's going to be quick, right? Because I don't see the CDU and the SPD really hanging on together, although they could if there is no pushback, and if they're able to eliminate all the pushback from the public, they're able to silence the voices of the people in this country, then they might be able to stick together all that time, because they'll just do whatever they want. They're essentially on the same team, right? It's not like the SPD and the CDU are political rivals. No, they are playing the same game. Their number one priority is to keep the AFD out of power. And the citizens' number one priority should be to get the AFD in power, right? Before it's too late. Because you see what they're doing all over Europe. They are getting rid of populist, popular candidates left and right. Romania might have been easy, you know what I mean? They just kind of like go, well, no, you can't run anymore, Georgescu. We know the whole country wants to vote for you, but we're going to take you out of the race. You're not allowed to run, and that's it, right? In France, with Marine Le Pen, they used criminal charges that she's allowed to go into appeal for in order to ban her from the election, right? So normally punishments don't get enacted until the appeal process is finished, right? But in this case, all of her punishments are put on ice, so she doesn't have to wear the ankle bracelet, she doesn't have to pay the fine. But the one punishment that goes into effect right now, even though she still can appeal, Berufung, right, is the banning of banning from the election for 5 years. So you see there that that's their goal. They don't really want to fine her. They don't really want to put her in jail. They want her not to run in the election, right? Because her Rassemblement National is getting too popular. It's too right-wing for them. It's too anti-establishment. It's too outside the status quo. Here, they're trying to ban the AFD. So in every country where the right is not already in power, the left is trying to do legal lawfare against their rival political parties so that they never get a chance to win. And by doing this, they do not give a shit. They've shown clearly that they do not care what the public thinks, what the public wants. They want to stay in power at all costs, and they will do anything they have to do to stay there. So this is ramping up to be like a fight, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking physical violence, you know what I mean? But if something isn't done at some point, that may be the only way out, right? So while I'm not advocating for physical violence, I don't want to uproot my life. I don't want to have to violently hit the streets to protect my freedoms. And I hope that it never comes to that situation. But we are inching ever closer to that situation, right? And the reason why we are is because the politicians seem to think they are not afraid of us, right? They're not afraid of us. They think that they're going to get voted in over and over again, and thus far they're right? Thus far, they've been able to play really, really sick games with the public. They've been able to lie to the public. They've been able to rob, cheat, and steal from their wallets. They've been able to give your money to other countries and other places without asking you, without repercussions, and then tell you there's no money to fix these fucked up bridges in this country. They've been able to do so much shit to their own clientele, which is us, the citizens, and yet they constantly get voted for again, that they have no reason to fear us. That's the first thing. So to avoid any type of violence in the future, to avoid becoming as poor as possible, to avoid this continuing, there is one mechanism that we as citizens have in order to get this done, and that is voting, right? But that's about it. We don't have influence over anything after that. So the voting is very important. Making the right choice in voting is very important. Look at America, right? If Kamala Harris would have gotten in there, that would have been absolutely disastrous for America and the rest of the world. It would have been woke central, right? It would have continued this mad reality-denying cult of wokeism would have continued, and it would have been ramped up to 1,000, and there would have been nothing that Americans could have done about it. So they made the right choice before it was too late. And I plead with the German people, do the same, right? Do the same. The minute you get the chance to vote again, get rid of this whole establishment, right? Put the AFD in power. Give them a chance. You know, no matter what happens, right? For the people that are still weary of the AFD, no matter what happens, they will never, ever be as close to as bad as the combination we're about to get now or the Ampel from before. They won't be. You know what I mean? They just won't be, right? And you can count on it There will be safeguards in place if they were to ever get completely out of line. There are obvious safeguards in place. To think that we are going to get back to 1930s Germany because of the AfD is ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I would be more worried about these parties, the establishment parties, than I would be about the AfD, because they are actually doing the things that they're accusing the AfD of, right? They're doing the things they're accusing the AfD of. So they are out there basically trying to tear down democracy in front of our very eyes. And the people are so fucking dumb that they're going, well, let's fight against the right. Let's make sure the right never gets any power. Well, wait a minute. The tyrants are the ones in power now. Shouldn't you be fighting against them? Shouldn't it be out on the streets against them? Luckily, the CDU is getting pushback from within. That might do something. But I don't think it's going to quell their thirst for power. I think Friedrich Merz will run over the grandmothers of everybody in his own party before he gives up the chance to become chancellor. That's the kind of guy this guy is. He does not give a fuck, right? He doesn't. And the people that are going along with him also do not give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about the fucking people. They don't give a fuck about their other party members. They don't care that they threw every one of those people that were out there telling lies on their behalf. All of them were thrown under the bus. They don't give a shit. What they care about is power. They want power. They want to keep power. And they want to be able to have influence over every little aspect of your life. Not only what you say, what you eat, how often you go on vacation, what kind of car you can drive, how many days a week you can drive it, you know what I'm saying? What you can do on Sundays, what you can't do on Sundays, who can be open on Sundays, who can do this. It's ridiculous. This country is completely bureaucratically overregulated in every aspect. And the citizens are just sitting there watching. You can count every day how many of your rights are being checked off out of your constitution and being thrown in the fucking garbage. And they're even telling you on the news, and you're just going, well, let's vote for these fucking people again. It's unreal. I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? You guys are like this Stockholm syndrome people, you know what I mean? That you love your kidnappers. You love your torturer. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, I love these people. They're fucking my life up so bad. I can't wait to put my vote in for them again next time. It's going to be so great. It's so fantastic, right? It's absolutely discouraging to watch how these people in this country are willfully blinded, right, by the idiocies of these people that are supposedly running the place. And then they stand up there and everybody calls them leaders. Let's remember, people, they are not leaders. They are servants. And it's time for us to start treating them that way. Matter of fact, I would go as far as to say, if you have a business of any kind in this country, and one of these fucking hypocritical, lying scumbag politicians, or their staff, or their family, ever comes into one of your stores, you have Hausrecht. Don't serve them. Let them know they are not welcome. They don't give a fuck about us. We don't give a fuck about them. That's what we need to start showing them in every way possible. Every way possible, every legal way. And also, I said it in my last video last week, or maybe it's this week, do not allow yourself to get intimidated by these attacks on the freedom of Freiheit von Meinungsäußerung, right? Don't. Keep talking. Keep posting. Keep going. And if they try to take you to court, if they slap you with a fine, look, get Rechtsschutz. Get a Rechtsschutzversicherung, right? A legal insurance. Get it. If you're posting a lot on the internet, get legal insurance, because that way you have the means to fight these people. And go with it. To fight them. Fight them. Make it public. Talk about it. Fight them in court. There's a good chance you will win still. Right? And the more pushback they see, the more times the citizens win over them, the better it's going to be, because they will back off. Right? But if the people do nothing and allow themselves to be muzzled, then they will never back off. They're just going to go further and further and further and further until we actually have a Hunger Games type situation in this country. And then the only remedy is going to be two things. You either leave the country and go somewhere where it's free, right? Or you're going to have to get ready for an actual battle. And I don't know how you're going to do that without guns. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be tough. I think the people are just going to, I think more and more people are just going to have to leave this country if this continues. And I would recommend the younger people that are dynamic at this moment, that could get a job in other countries, especially if you have a work from home type situation. I would leave now, right? I would leave now. If it calms down in this country and it goes back to normal and they get their financial shit under control and things go back to regular, like kind of halfway normal, you could always come back. But for now, shit, if you're young and you've got a whole future ahead of you, Germany is not offering futures at the moment, right? There is no future in this country for younger people, right? You can't buy a fucking house because A, they're too expensive, and B, every possible living space is being given to illegals and legal immigrants, right? So you don't have a chance. They are prioritized over you. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Not the way it's supposed to be, but that is the way it is. Illegal immigrants are prioritized over the citizens of the country, right? And see, for saying something like that, that would be one of these misinformation things. And that would get me my post taken down and all that stuff, and maybe even get me a fine, or maybe I'd have to go to jail in the future under Friedrich Merz's tyrannical government, you know? I might, you know, because that would be misinformation according to them, even though it's actually true, right? But it's misinformation because the mainstream media is saying the exact opposite. They're saying Vielfalt is unsere Starke and shit. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't follow that mantra and you say something against that mantra, that's misinformation, folks. Look, there's all kinds of people, not just me, saying this kind of stuff every day, right? Every day. I hope it's getting through to some people. I hope that people will vote for the AFD the next time around, because if you don't, that could very well be the last chance you get. Because in the meantime, they are using every possible chance they have to bend and form the law to their advantage so that they stay in power forever. And the longer time you give them, the more headway they will make, the more wins they will take, and the more power they will get. And our goal is to reduce their power. As a matter of fact, I would say we want to take away their power completely. Give the AFD a chance to right this ship, to steer the vessel clear of the iceberg before it hits the wall, and that's the end. Because we're getting very close to that situation, that there's just going to be no saving this country in any way. Economically, legally, nothing. Everything's going to shit. Everything. Right? And it's up to the citizens to demand that it stops. So guys, if you want to get all my stuff, if I get to not be banned or shadow banned or taken down or post removed, the place to go to get all my stuff where it's never censored, never taken down, never banned, and you'll always get a notification in your email that it's been published, is my Substack. It's allaboutlogic.substack.com. You see it on the screen there, and you can support me there for $5 a month, or you can subscribe for free. That way you'll get all my content delivered directly to your email, including the articles that I write. But you won't miss anything. Nothing is censored on Substack. Nothing is banned on Substack and on all the other platforms, including X. You do have to understand it is arbitrary. So maybe it shows up and maybe it doesn't. And Substack is not like that. So go there and subscribe. That way you'll get everything. Guys, have a great day. Peace out. See you guys next weekend. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll check you on Monday.